Hello, hello. We are so happy that you are with us. I am Nancy White, the Healthy Sales Chick, and we are all about talking about our healthy mind, our body, and our spirit. And you know what? Every once in a while, we just need to stop for a moment and just do a little refreshing makeover. So, from time to time, we have amazing guests on the Healthy Sales Chick show. And just like my friend Paula Fellingham, the founder of Win Win Women, is we just always want to welcome you with open arms and open hearts. But today we have another show host that's going to be sharing her expertise, her wisdom, her knowledge, and her understanding. And we're just going to get a little glimpse of what Ileana does. But Ileana, I am so grateful and happy that you are here. And I just want to welcome you with open arms and an open heart.
And my heart is open. Thank you for having me, Nancy. I'm so grateful for you and for the opportunity here to share my story and my little nuggets of wisdom, if I have them. Right?
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes. Grateful to be here.
And you do have them. And so, our topic tonight, we're going to be talking about the triangle transformation, which is a very interesting. And we're just going to touch on three little areas about solutions to deal with life's challenges. And don't you know, there's lots of them, but you know, when you can work on some of those foundational things and some of those things, it has that ripple effect that affects so many different areas of our lives. And so I wanted to share with you just a little bit about Eliana. She is a best-selling, award-winning author. She, again, like I said, is a show host and a speaker, a global speaker. If you want her, you're going to have to book her. And she has spent most of her professional life in the fitness and wellness industry and is a certified professional coach with private practice and yoga studio in Texas. And I absolutely love yoga. So when she said that, I thought, oh my goodness. She also specializes in midlife and transformational coaching. And she's known for her straightforward coaching approach, presenting and sharing her life lessons. And she does it with a good dose of joy, humor, and energy. And after years of counseling and also somatic work at an addiction rehab facility, her expertise also lies in trauma, informed care, addiction, recovery, grief, PTSD, depression, and anxiety intervention. Doesn't that cover such a gamut of things? But again, Eliana, welcome so much. And we're so grateful that you're here. And I would love to just ask you a question before we get into our details. What was that one defining moment that made you decide now is the time to launch a new initiative of serving women?
Well, I can honestly answer you that answer came from my pastor. And the problem was that I was doing a lot of things. I was studying a lot of things. I was constantly trying to improve myself. And even more so, Nancy, honestly, I was always trying to prove myself because I had a dose of trauma there where I was just kind of like trying to wrestle myself out of and make it bigger and make it more. And I was honestly kind of forgetting what I was bringing to people and what the outcome was for them. I was just not really seeing my own worth. Does that make sense?
It
I was
does.
just struggling. I was just not really putting any value on the things that I was doing. And I was just really struggling financially and in life just to get ahead and to get out of that mess. And and he started me questions. He started asking me questions about why and what do people get out of it when they are with you. And I was always saying, oh yeah, 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 it's just fun, and it's probably just they have a good time. And we went on, and he kept digging and digging and digging and digging till I could really finally produce some results that were statements of the things that people got out of it being with me. But I wouldn't see it. Do you see where I'm trying? It was like,
Can't
it's
see
all
it.
about, I can do this and I can do that and I can please see me. But they saw it already. I just wasn't putting any value on it. I wasn't really respecting myself enough. And that is goes all the way back, and it goes all the way back to where we come from. And sometimes with a dose of trauma and low self-esteem, we try to wrestle out of it.
Mhm.
And I really had to see that I didn't value what I was doing. I was just kind of still thinking it was fun in the backyard, and the girls want to have fun, but not really. Like, wow, you lowered your blood pressure, you sleep better, you stand up straight, you have a tremendous posture, you work on your balance, you work on your strength, you feel better, you talk to me all the time about your anxiety, I make you feel good,
Mhm.
right? That kind of thing. So I wasn't really putting it in a business package, so to speak. And when I talked that day to my pastor about my value, he made me see that I had to do something in this contribution that I was
Mhm.
already putting myself out there, but that I could be bigger and that I could do more for women especially, and for people especially in general, right? That I could just build on that business, finally seeing my own value.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, was that during some of your, because you've done a lot of things in the past, working, with trauma and working with addiction, working with different things. Where, when was it that you talked with your pastor? Was it before you had done all these different
Mhm.
things, serving all these other people and becoming more and more educated and knowledgeable and going through experience? Did that happen before or after?
Absolutely. It was before that. It was just at the
Okay.
beginning. I opened my own business, but I wasn't doing anything.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't yet, it was fun. And I wasn't, honestly, I opened a yoga studio in 2005. And over the years, it became more popular, but I didn't do well. While everybody was coming in and was so happy to see me and be without me and be around me, or get something out of it. But I didn't really see that I was bringing that to the table.
Mhm.
So I kept my fees low, I kept my prices very low, and I just didn't have that business sense of saying, well, look, here is the results. Why are we not looking at the results and what I can offer people? And so I just started to approach it in a different sense. I opened my studio in 2005, really working in different locations, or my business, I should say. In 2011, that became a yoga studio, fitness studio, and wellness center.
Mm.
And then after years there, I was asked to come full time as a wellness counselor at a addiction facility. When I started there, I stayed there for 8 years, helping inpatient clients or patients, we call them, uh, in a 30 to 90-day program with addiction and the aftermath of all that, right?
Mhm.
So my patients in recovery, I worked with them for a long time, and that's when I really start seeing the value of my work.
Absolutely, because you were seeing the before and afters, and you were seeing the improvement. And don't you know that's a lot of times people that are in that, they don't recognize the improvement and the growth and the transformations as much as outsiders or other people are seeing that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely true. People come in devastated, right? The drugs, the alcohol, that's not so much the issue, it's the underlying issue of all these symptoms that are coming out, anxiety, stress, and what we do for it. So I started really being strong on telling patients to work with me on that triangle transformation. And
Okay.
one of the things that I brought in there was that I realized that the 12-step program, for instance, or the AA program or the NA program, was heavenly founded in faith and in strength and in confirmation of what we need to do to keep moving forwards.
Mhm.
But the whole body aspect wasn't really in there. And we didn't have to work out in 1920 because we got a lot more workout regardless, right? And so to find a triangle in a sense of mind, body, spirit, I really brought that body in to work on self-esteem and strength and posture issues. And so, from that point of view, when people start feeling better, even if it's just only physically, then you are mentally and emotionally, of course, way more uh, guarded, right? And you have more, you've got more tools. So it's not just always that exercise is and was one of the most under validated forms of medication in the world, but also just making people understand that if you are getting up in the morning and you don't have it, you simply don't feel it yet, that you can put your blue shirt on and your crazy hat and your high heels, and you automatically start feeling a little bit more secure, or a little bit more, you have a little bit more courage. And then the outer world, of course, outside, people start reacting to you that way as well and say you look beautiful.
Mhm.
And that makes for a toolbox in itself
You mentioned,
to weapon
you
us.
mentioned a word just then, Elian, that I would yesterday was going through and it kept coming up, and that word was courage. And sometimes our courage is in all kinds of different levels, and sometimes it's just courageous enough just to get out of bed some days, and
Mhm.
those taking those steps and those different things, and it's courage, just to believe. And sometimes we have to have courage for other people and share that with them, and just come alongside and believe for them and cheer them on. So let's start just breaking down, because I cannot wait to hear about the three solutions. Let's just touch on one at a time, Ileana, if it's all right with you. And which one would you want to start with? Which solution would you like to start with, just to unpack a little bit?
My biggest one I wrote about. So I wrote a book that's called 60 Miles from Neiman's, which was for me, I think everybody in America knows where Neiman's is. For me, it was just a fun way of saying, hey, I don't know what happened. I ended up in the countryside, 60 miles away from the big city of Dallas. So I live a little bit in the countryside. And the shopping experience didn't have so much to do with it as, as coming to fruition,
Mhm.
although it was far away from all the lively, inner city busy.
Mhm.
And I started realizing at the end of a failed marriage there as well, that I was always trying to live up to everybody's expectation. So I started to write my life story. I started to write my trauma away. Journaling was always one of my tools, but I
Mhm.
really started putting it all together in a book. And my book was about how in the world did you end up here, Elian, and what in the world are you doing in Gun Barrel City? I live in Gun Barrel City in Texas, and what are you doing there coming from Amsterdam, and how in the world did that happen? So I started writing it. And during my writing, the most important thing that came to me, Nancy, was that I lived always in a frame of other people's expectations. I was
Mhm.
still trying to do well, make everybody happy, please everybody, do what the others do. Um, and I now, as a midlife and transformation coach, I help a lot of women exactly through that as well. So you have this perfect picture on the mantle, and you have your perfect family and the kids, and you raised the kids, and you were helping your husband, or you were a partner of by all means, fabulous, doing all these things. But we kind of lost ourselves
Mhm.
down the road. And I work with people, especially women on that a lot, because they are now empty nesters, or this COVID hit, or we experience loss or grief, we experience loneliness and isolation. And I was there, and I didn't answer. I didn't do it right. I didn't get out of it for a long time. I was angry. I was lost. I was drinking. I was doing the things that were not healthy for me in the early trauma days. I call that my former life, so to speak. And then when I saw that I needed to get away from that constant frame of expectation and be myself, then stop putting high expectations on others, and then stop expectations for myself. So I wrote my book, How to Let Go of Expectations. That's the subtitle of 60 Miles to Neiman's, from Neiman's. That is the whole premises of letting go, come into your own, of what we are supposed to do, whatever that is, whatever our fun purpose is, whatever makes us happy, whatever makes us feel alive and creative and get up in the morning. All these things are so important, because we can have little expectations. Of course, it's, if somebody gives me a paycheck, they expect me to perform well. I will. But if that's something that I love to do, because I do
Mhm.
something that I love to do, it's a whole different deal than when I do it because I must, or somebody's expecting it, or it doesn't feel good, or I don't live I don't live in the career or the job that I would love to dream of, right?
Yeah,
So it's such a
absolutely.
different thing. So
Mhm.
letting go of expectations is a big thing.
I
A
think
big
one of the things too, when you said that, just to reinforce that too, Elion, I've shared with women a lot over the years. One of the fastest ways to discouragement for you is to compare yourself to somebody else. And, you know, we have our own unique gifts and talents. And then even going to counseling, people will tell you, you've got to take care of yourself first and foremost, your self care before you take care of anybody else. And again, you have to know where those boundaries are. Eliana, I think that's one of the things too that people they don't put boundaries around
Mhm.
themselves, and they're protective boundaries for both sides. So I think that's fantastic that that was the first thing that you recognized that this isn't working, and I've got to do something for myself to take care.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And I'm glad you brought that up, boundaries, because that is one of the things that I try to implement at that point, working with people as a coach, is all right, so what would you do for yourself? And how can we start saying no? And this is very big for women because women are even bigger yay sayers than men, right? They're just like, oh, yeah, we'll do it for you. We got it fixed. And meanwhile, I remember times in my past where I really ended up doing it all, and I'm talking about caretaking, kids, family, household, arrangements, events, and planning, and sports, and school, and work,
Hmm.
groceries, all of that. And it's very difficult if you take also that way. We don't realize sometimes that we take somebody's power away
Hmm.
by doing it all, right? Because for me, for instance, I have been in situations where I did not really realize that I took somebody's power away. Always, I got it fixed, I got it fixed. And you don't leave it up to anybody else anyway, right?
Hmm.
We got it, we got it, we got it. And then so you give yourself so much stress there. And on the other hand, you give the other person maybe even an opportunity to get super lazy and
Well,
just to
and
lay there, leave it up to you.
absolutely, because we're training everybody to remember how to treat us. And I can, for myself too, years ago, that same kind of mindset. I can do it. I can do it. I can,
Mhm.
self-sufficient. And the Lord told me one time years ago, He said, when somebody comes and volunteers to help and to do something, and you say, no, I've got it, stop, you have just taken a blessing away from that person, because how do you know that the Lord did not tell that person to come and do something for you? And I went,
Absolutely.
whoa, okay, so now I can
Huge.
give, but I have to receive.
Yes, huge. And that is something that we are not very good at, women, and we're also not very good at asking for help if we need it, right? So that all comes together in this package of how do we find what we need to do, where is our limits, where are our boundaries, where do we need to stop, and where do we need to go next to really find that creative self.
Yeah.
And so for me, that next nugget was really starting to respect yourself, know your value, know your worth. Ask God where He wants to place you. Ask God, what is your why, your purpose? Why are you here? What do you got to give? And then start really just respecting yourself for that gift, right? We have all different gifts. I didn't do that as I started with that story. And when I started doing that, I really felt that respect was almost even more important than just, for instance, in a relationship, than love. I mean, I can find love in many, many different places and give love all day. I'm a lover, I'm a giver, I love it. But to find respect or to get it from somebody, it relates a lot to career, to workplace, but it also relates to relationships where people came to me, Eliane, when you said that, I know why I didn't want to be with him anymore. I kind of love him, but I didn't really respect the things that he was doing. It kind of like, it brought this anger and resentment inside me that I was holding on to for so long because I just didn't respect the way he treated me, or I didn't respect he or she, right? Let's make this clear.
Hmm.
Right? But the way that my partner or my loved one is treating me, or my family, or even the kids, and the way that I do not feel respected, makes me feel low, makes me feel minor, makes me feel out of touch. And it just brings us constantly in the circle of of resentment, and then procrastination. Next week I'm going to do something about it, and then the next Tuesday you didn't do it because you
And then
didn't do
it's
it
been
Monday.
2 years. So,
On and on and on and on and
yes.
on. Yes, just to find that respect, and to also sometimes demand that respect, right? Not to go into this expectation thing, but knowing, or actually really be more aware of it. Hey, if you don't get it, I've been in situations where it was corporate situations. If I don't get it, I cannot function there.
Mhm.
Because if I people don't see my value, my contribution, I cannot function there, right? So that calls for a good conversation, or for an altercation there,
And
or just even leaving.
absolutely. We know when to leave and we know
Mm,
when to stay. And I
yeah.
think sometimes we get so complacent and comfortable. And, and sometimes it takes, some things getting stirred up to make us so feel uncomfortable. Go, oh, I think I need to move on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people, of course, and women especially, also right now don't dare to do that. There is
Mhm.
a category of women where I work with them on career and choices in the workplace, because we are, of course, due to COVID and the last couple of years, as you and me just talked, into such an isolation place already. And what if you get fired? What if you lose that job? So many of us are living that paycheck to paycheck situation, to where we don't dare to make choices for ourselves. So it's a little bit of a, I can encourage somebody to step up for yourself and do it all, but I have to be very careful not to
Mm,
place people in a predicament where, you can't really keep up with life.
that's true.
And so it's very difficult, but there's always ways to come further up through communication and through respecting yourself and knowing what your value is. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so what's the next solution that you'd love to talk about?
The next thing that I always love to talk about, Nancy, is be a rebel. Be a rebel. Be creative. Unload all that energy. Don't stop when you're 49 or 59, or go crazy, dance a lot, put the music on, release the energy and anxiety, do the
Mhm,
things you love. Being a rebel in a really positive sense, like stand out. You are unique,
mhm,
and to see that God made us unique, our higher power, whatever your higher power is, that you are there in a unique place in the universe to create something, and that other people can benefit from that, right? And so
mhm,
I've really been always big on, because my past was a little bit like where people say, you're different. And yeah, of course I talk different, right? Oh, it's very cute and very exotic, but I didn't want people to see it as cute and exotic. I wanted to be so badly. I wanted to be taken serious. But at the
mhm,
same time, I had this, even through my pain, I had this zest for life, and living, and dancing and energy, and just kind of get it out there and stay young, right? And staying young in our mind is so much more important.
mhm.
Not just body and taking care of your body, which of course I do as the expert in health and wellness, but just unloading that stress and that anxiety by just vacuuming with your music on and shake it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. And a fun thing when you said that, because people that dance have probably between 60 to 80% less likely to have dementia. So that's
Mhm.
another reason to get those feet moving, turn the music up, and dance like nobody's
Yes.
watching. And
Yes.
it's great exercise.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I'm not even talking just, yes, the dancing, the exercise, go do the things you love. But
Mhm,
also just don't be afraid to constantly explore your own gifts, your own talents, right? The things that
mhm,
you can be unique at, learn, integrate. We talk a lot about that, of course, taking care of each other, collaborate with each other, right? I always call that hashtag sharing is caring. I always say, just kind of like keep exploring what you can do, and don't stand still just because somebody else was holding you up, right?
mhm.
All the way going back to these expectations. Why we act like somebody I'm in my 60s. I don't want to act like somebody in my 60s. I don't. So it's one of these things that I think in a very positive way, we can be our own little rebel and stand up and say no. And just be our own little inner child. And I'm not doing that today, right? Kids are
And
not coming over for Thanksgiving. I'll come to
I
you.
I used
Yes.
to tell my three brothers early on, "You're not the boss of me."
You're
So
not the boss of me now. Exactly. Yes, exactly. It's so important to find our unique self and then to flow with that and then to create the things, workshops, courses, hobbies, integrate. Even if you don't have to work, go volunteer, be there, right? Don't isolate and share your love and your gifts with everybody else because it's really important to, and most of my clients are coming out of that place of stress, anxiety, grief, isolation, PTSD. And it's not that I kick him on the curb and say, okay, go have fun and find a dance party. It's just this really slow integration of, well, what makes you feel good and what do other people say about you? Right. And a lot of times we don't feel so good, but we're actually seen by others as very unique and amazing and loving and caring. And if we can see what we mean to others and what we can contribute, then somehow that makes us feel validated again, right? It makes us feel seen again. And it gives us a little bit more courage again to go out maybe and entertain a group or a volunteer job, or maybe even if it's a day at the library, because everybody has that. But if we go back to what we already have accomplished, and how other people see us, we lose that part of seeing ourselves many times. Once we don't feel good, if we feel down, we forget our accomplishments,
Do
and we
you
can
ever
only see a
yeah,
big
do
mountain.
you ever suggest that somebody go and ask somebody else how they see them and
Mm.
how so because if you don't, how do you help your clients and how do you help people to find out how other people see them and view them?
Yeah, so I really have worksheets for that. So we as coaches we work with a lot of worksheets, right? I just have homework. The difference between somebody in therapy when you're really working through your trouble and your problems, your trauma, what is it that caused that, and
Mhm.
where are your triggers? As a life coach, really after that, I get people sent to me after they have maybe been through a therapy session, and after long therapy, they have found that place to where now they know what they don't want.
Mhm.
And I always say, I know that you know what you don't want. Now we're going to look for what you do want and what you
Mhm.
can contribute. And that is so important because so many people don't know that. Even coming out of an addiction situation, I know what I don't want. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to be this woman anymore. I don't want to be this wife anymore. I don't want to be this mother. But what do you want? And
Mhm.
that's usually the dead part. We don't see the opportunities yet of all the other things that we can do. And I have honestly worksheets for that. And that asks the worksheets are questions like that, like what are your values?
Mhm.
And how do other people fill that in? What would other people say about you? Are you a good contributor? Are you a good listener? How do you communicate? Things like that. Even to the point, and this is very drastic, but sometimes I even work with people on how do you want to be remembered?
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Can we write that down? Can we just see your own obituary there? What would you like people to know about you that we
Mhm.
so many times overlook? And that is really, really profound because if we start looking at that, then we start thinking about, I'm not so bad at all, right?
That's okay. I know. I cannot believe how fast our time is getting ready to go past, Elion. So, what other nugget would you love to share? And just that you really feel that people just sort of overlook, take for granted, whatever it is that could be helpful to them.
I honestly, my motto is, and it's one of the big things that comes back in both of my books, the next one as well, is that I found out by doing everything wrong in a jokingly sense that life doesn't get any easier, but you get better at it. And you
Mhm.
will find the tools. I love that saying. I love to say it doesn't get easier. People come to me and say, "Oh, life is difficult." I say, "Ah, it's not life's fault. It's not life's fault. It's the way you react to it, right?" And that's when we can start. We talked about that. That's when we can start changing it and turning it around. We got challenges, we got choices. Now you have a chance to change. And it's all about that mindset and that thinking. So life doesn't get any easier. We
It
just
does.
have grief, we have pain, we have loss. I have it all the time. I have concerns, I have stress, I have worries, but I get lots better at it. A lot better at it.
I know, and some of us have had a little bit more practice than others because we've lived a
Mhm.
little longer. And so, but you're right, just when you can find those ways to be able to handle the situations of life, the things we have control over and the things we don't. And then if we need help, we need to ask. So, Elian, how can people get in touch with you? And when is your show being broadcast on Win Win Women TV?
Thank you, dear Nancy. People can find me alionhaan.com. That's my website. And there's also a link tree that you can find on all my social media. All my links are honestly on social media just by my name. So you can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram by Elian Haan. And all those tags are also on my website, alionhaan.com. And of course, I would love to have people on my show. I would love to have you in a couple of months, Nancy. We're going to reverse that fun time together. It is on Saturdays, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Time,
Okay.
Saturday afternoon. It's called Elian's Joy because gotta have joy.
You gotta
Gotta
have
have joy.
joy. Oh,
Gotta
well,
have joy.
well,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much,
so,
dear.
so much. I'm so grateful for you taking time to be with us and share just some little nuggets about your, again, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And I invite everyone, please come back to the Healthy Sales Chick Show next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, and connect with me, Nancy, the Healthy Sales Chick. My website's thehealthysaleschick.com. And I promise that we can have a great conversation and it'll be all about you. And visit some of the other Win Win Women TV shows. We have got a plethora of amazing talent and gifts in this community. So again, Elian, thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.